all-time teams, all-time dynasties, all-time coaches screw with us. And what they really do is they screw with perspective. Is that there were a lot of great bands out there during the Beatles' run, and nobody was paying attention to them. The Steelers yesterday got rid of their offensive coordinator, Todd Haley. And, there is a sense in Pittsburgh, oh, my God, they're reeling. Oh, my God, it's crazy. Oh, my God, we're spinning. Oh, my God, Tomlin, this isn't working out. Hopefully Ben doesn't retire. That is the perception now in the NFL that, oh, my God. But let me ask you, if you just took out Bill Belichick and the Patriots, would Mike Tomlin be getting this heat? Yes. Next to that dynasty, it makes Tomlin and the Steelers look small. Yes, and every time Belichick goes up against him, he outcoaches him, like he did against Rex Ryan and Mike Mularkey. And Mike Mularkey and Rex Ryan both got fired after losing to Bill Belichick. Is that this is what Nick Saban's done to the SEC. In the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and most of the 90s, LSU football had decades they won 5 games a year, 6 games, 8 games. They hire Les Miles. He wins 10 games a year in a national title, and they fire him. Why? Because you're comparing him to Nick Saban. Never forget this. 11 years Tomlin's been the coach. He's never had a losing season. Chuck Noll, a legend, won 57% of his games. Bill Cowher's a legend, won 62% of his games. Mike Tomlin's won 65% of his games, and that's in the throes of facing Brady and Peyton Manning in their prime. Let's be honest about this. That one play, think about the Jesse James touchdown that was not allowed to be a touchdown. An inch, a bobble. If this is allowed, I'm showing it now, if that is called a touchdown, which it was initially, then Tomlin has a win over Belichick. Pittsburgh faces Tennessee in the playoffs. And New England has to go to Pittsburgh for a playoff game. That's if they could have beaten Jacksonville. I've said this about LeBron James. Golden State's the best NBA team I've probably ever seen. They're currently constructed Warriors team. If you just took them out, LeBron's got 2 more titles. And none of the drama that we're talking about this week with LeBron is drama. This is what happened to Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods. Phil Mickelson had this reputation. Guy's kind of a choker. If you took the greatest golfer I've ever seen play live, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson would have been the best golfer for 12 years. You'd call him an all-timer, not a choker. I've never advocated for Mike Tomlin to be fired. They were 13-4. 11 years he's never had a losing record. What I've advocated and encouraged is the media to be more intellectually honest, that it's okay to call him out when he gets worked by Belichick, which he was Sunday, or he was worked Sunday. He had a bad day at the office. But I would say this, defending Mike Tomlin. Let me give you an example of 2 coaches I compare a little bit to Mike Tomlin. They're very emotional. Sean Payton, everybody loves. He's called a genius. Sean Payton's always given the genius label. He has Drew Brees as a quarterback, every bit as good as Big Ben all time, and they're way more inconsistent than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, the New Orleans Saints are all over the map. He can't figure out a defensive coordinator. They had 5 and 11 years. I think the coaching undersold Drew Brees this weekend. I think they lost mostly because of coaching on that last defensive series. And we all love Sean Payton. He's a genius. Because he doesn't have to face Belichick in the NFC every year in his division or in the playoffs. By the way, we all love Pete Carroll. He was fired in the NFL, left the NCAA, USC situation, a complete mess, goes to Seattle, he's 7-9, 7-9, lucks into Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. That lasts for 4 years. Now they're a mess again. He's firing his whole staff, and we all love Pete Carroll. So think about it. We love Sean Payton. We love Pete Carroll. Pete's team's totally unraveled now with a Hall of Fame level quarterback, Russell Wilson. Don't deny it, he is. And by the way, the Saints were a mess for 3 years before this year with New Orleans and Drew Brees. And we love those guys. Listen, Mike Tomlin is a good football coach. He's way too soft on discipline for my taste. He's way too loose. I'm not a fan of how he runs his locker room. But folks, Sean Payton and Pete Carroll are everybody's fave. They're also very emotional guys, sometimes loose on discipline. One had to deal with Bountygate. This year, the Seahawks were the most politically dysfunctional locker room in the league, and we love them. All I've ever asked for Mike Tomlin is let's have an intellectually honest conversation when he has a bad day at the office. We do about Pete. We ripped him in the Super Bowl. We do about Peyton. We just don't have it about Mike enough. The Steelers are always good with Tomlin. They just don't always look good when compared to New England and Belichick, and that's the truth. So as they fire Todd Haley yesterday, there's not utter dysfunction. They needed to fire Todd Haley, and they need to be better with discipline. That's just never going to happen because that's not the DNA of Tomlin. But I do find it funny how we view them now as being sort of unraveled. Jesse James touchdowns given to him. They're playing Tennessee, and they're hosting New England, and he has a win over Belichick this year. It's all time to take a deep breath. The Steelers are going to be fine. And even this year, they were fine. I mean, I look at Todd Haley, and I'm like, he's one of these guys. I want to say, dude, you've been in 2 bar fights as a grown-up. Grow up. Like, when he got whacked yesterday in Pittsburgh, I hate seeing coaches fired, but I was kind of like rooting for it. I'm sorry, but you can't get in bar fights as an adult, multiple bar fights.
Well, I'm never rooting for anyone to lose their job. I think, that Todd Haley has got to look at himself and make some changes. It's one thing to be a fiery coach. It's another thing to have some emotional intelligence about you.
Thank you.
And understand, how to deal with players. This isn't, I think his dad was a coach. And he's probably trying to coach the way his dad used to coach. I grew up in the NFL where, coaches would yell at you. Depending on the type of coach and the relationship you had with a coach, you could yell back at a coach. And everybody understood it. Buddy used to always say, what we say to each other on Sunday doesn't matter. Because in the heat of the battle, we may say anything to each other, but you let it go. And you know the line when you're dealing with a coach from a respect factor. And most coaches try to have that same line, back towards players. But I think that Todd Haley is a good coach. He just needs to learn how to deal with people and put himself in the best position and understand it's about the players, not so much about him.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.